Hello, my name is Abdulrazak Muhammad Farah, one of students learning Masters of Project Management in Distance Learning at Open University in Malaysia, facilitated by Sema University in Mogadishu. We are here presenting our assignment at Project Risk Management. Here is the executive summary. This is a coursework assignment required by Center for Postgraduate Studies, Sema University, specifically Project Risk Management course. The purpose of this assignment is to enable the students to enhance their knowledge on Project Risk Management Plan. The introduction. The project name is Shock Responsive Safety Net for Human Capital Project, and the location of the project is Somalia. Project fund grantees are the International Development Association, IDA, which is the part of the World Bank that helps the world's poorest countries, while implementation of the project would initially be supported by the development partners, namely WFP and UNICEF. To implement significant activities, the federal government of Somalia would be the direct recipient of the IDA grant and be responsible for all aspects of project design and implementation. The Shock Responsive Safety Net for Human Capital Project has a total of 65 million financed from the IDA Areas Clearance Grant Facility and would support three components to be implemented over 2 years period. The components are A. Nutrition-linked unconditional cash transfer. B. Delivery system and institutional capacity building. C. Project management, monitoring and evaluation and knowledge management. The project rationale and role of partners. The reason why IDA chose to fund this specific project is that the World Bank is well placed to support the social protection sector in Somalia given its global, regional and fragile conflict on violence, country-specific technical expertise with cash transfers and scalable safety net system that protect the poor and vulnerable from shocks, while promoting resilience. In particular, the World Bank brings expertise in developing social protection delivery system. This includes experience in design of social registries for objective and transparent targeting of the poor and vulnerable, particularly in times of shock, that's drought or flood requiring scale-up of assistance. Further, it brings expertise in supporting government to develop neutral and accountable targeting mechanism, strong citizen-based socially accountable grievance redress mechanism, strong and technology-based payment transfer system, among others. Specifically, it has long-standing experience in working closely with governments and partners in capacity-constrained, fragile contexts such as Afghanistan, Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, the Republic of Yemen, and others to support efforts aimed at strengthening humanitarian development links and building resilience of households and communities for medium-term recovery and long-term development outcomes. We hereby understand then that Somalia has been in civil wars for a long time. Despite it has developed and established its federal government and agreed to provisional constitution, there have also been other armed conflicts like Al-Shabaab. There has also been this natural disasters and man-made disasters which inflicted many Somalis to displace internally. Then this project is aimed at helping those affected by the natural and man-made disasters. So, I ended my presentation in here. I would like to welcome the next chapter's presenter. I'm welcoming Ayub Hassan Mahmoud to present next chapter on risk analysis, and risk finance. Welcome, Mr. Ayub.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdulrazak. I am Ayub Hassan Mahmoud, a member of the team led by Mr. Abdulrazak. From here, I would like to take you the risks that we have identified for this project. So, but before, I would like to briefly, mention about what is risks and the processes, risk elements and risk factors. And as we have learned, risk is that just a process of identifying the negative impacts of the project success, or anything or any event that is affecting negatively or suspending or complicating the project implementation or project achievement is risky. So, and under risky, we have risk elements and risk factors. Like, for example, now if you go to the risk elements, we have like risk identification process where we identify the risks that are affecting to the project success, and also there's a risk assessment in which we assess or analyze the risk level, if it is high, low, the impact level of that risk, and also we prepare a risk response for those identified risks, just a mechanism in which we respond on the risks that has been identified. And also in this response, we will be doing according to their priorities. So, and later stage, we have done a risk documentation in which we have documented all the risks that are affecting to this project. And this documentation helps to be like later to have a historical database for the risks, and later we can use for similar projects, or some other people can be given as a consultative approach, and they can use as a risk response or a risk history database. So, we also have factors, like, for example, in this project, the SNHCP, and a project is a drought, and project is the factor is the drought and the lack of the safety for this project. So what we do normally is we just look on the vulnerabilities of the project and what are impacting. Sorry. And the main factor of the main risk factor of this project is just to respond to drought and the lack of safety. That's what I mean. And this project, just provide this a cash to the a cash to the those vulnerable and people, like people who are just affecting the drought and facing a malnutrition. So this project helps them to transfer a cash directly to their hands, and it will later assist them to overcome some challenges like the malnutrition and anything else that may support them to at least help themselves to not affect those droughts. So there are several risks that we have identified under this project, and it is like, for example, there's a cost risky, what we are, and also we have seen a schedule risky and performance risky. Just like we have seen a cost, like somehow the estimated cost is not enough to the project scope, And also we have noted the schedule of activities is taking longer than expected. And somehow we fear or we see as a risky the performance of the project. We are just, just feeling that like the project will not, deliver the expected result. So those are the areas, and they also humanitarian and contractor and risky, where there's a challenge on the human resources as well as the environment of where the healthy and the safety is also in just in a challenging way, in which like for example we may we may see the risks of when we look into the practical aspect when the implementing of this project, it can bring a challenge to the environment and the healthy of the area where those vulnerable people live, like the IDPs of where they are having their shelters. Sometimes what happens is a challenge on their healthy area. So I think those are the areas that we have seen as it can be risky. So the other thing is, I think I have already spoke about this, and the risks that when we have done the checklists, these are the also other risky factors we have noted down, where like politically, the situation in the political situation in the country is somehow, it's somehow drifting, and it is not something that promises that the project will go as planned. So, and also there's a challenge on the also a technical designing of the project, environment, and social. Also, it's also another area where they may, where we may think, like, for example, okay. Yeah, and when we look into the political challenges, like the planned activities under component one, which is nutrition linked unconditional cash transfer, now that activity just faces a high political issue and governance risky from the political party. For example, lack of the government presence in parts of the country. For the government is not, the government institutions are not available in all the country, countrywide. They are only, stay in certain areas of the country. So where we are lacking in government presence is like, for example, not only the absence of the government institutions in some areas, but also the ongoing anti-terror campaigns and can also restrict the access to deliver and monitor the implementation of the project on some areas. So the upcoming federal election in 2021, the political constellation between the federal government and the Somaliland and the other risks like of elite capture, like during the beneficiary identification process, also poses a significant risk of the project implementation. So all those challenges are coming from the political party. Somehow it is beyond the control of the project management. Also, we always depend on the political situation and how politically changes from time to time. So also there are also risks on the technical designing of the project, and key risks includes a potential lack of access to the target communities, and the potential of the political capture in the targeting process by the federal government, states, and subnational authorities. So the overall, combined federal management and the procurement, and also brings a risky rate which is somehow higher than what we can mitigate. So, and I think also the environmental and social is also another area where the only environmental risk identification for this project is the possibility of the generation of a waste under the component 2, which is the delivery system and institutional capacity building. So, and also there's a risk on the registering is a potential and risks, like, for example, we register all the risks that we have identified under a risky register. So in somehow when you have the risk register, you can use that as a risky database or historical. So under risk register, we have listed all the risks, like, for example, political and government risky, which is those under the category of human risky. And factor is a civil war. Impact is 5. 5 means it is very high. So technical and designing under the category of the BRM, and the factor the federal government or federal and state government. So these are the risks that we have registered under risky registration list. So under this slide, we'll be just talking about the integration of the risks that we have identified for this project to other project management, in terms of cost, quality, scope, and the time frame of the project. So, scope of this project, which is shock responsive safety net for human capital. And the location of the project is in Somalia. So it has like 3 components. Like number 1 is the component that which is nutrition linked with unconditional cash transfer, delivery system and institutional capacity building, project management, monitoring and evaluation, and the knowledge management. The 3 components of this project that has been identified under the scope of the project. So time expected of this project is 8 in July in 2019, and while the expected closure date is 15 July 2020, which means the project has to implement it over 2 years period, just to support those specific people. In terms of the cost of this project, has the total funds of 65 million financed by IDAs, and also, and in terms of the social challenges is the security. Security, as mentioned, and conflicts and insecurity remain continuous and entire the country, and it is always a standing challenge that is affecting the implementation of the project. the exclusion we exclude the security and other challenges associated with working in rural Somalia areas where the government are not present, and the engagement of stakeholders is also a bit challenging. So so selection of the also selected target group is also another area we have looked into this project, where we are selecting women and children that are at a risk of malnutrition due to drought. So those are the people we are helping under this project. So I would like to hand over my colleague and team member, Mr. Abdullahi, to take you from here, and thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Ayub Hassan. Hi, my name is Abdullah Isse. As a member of the group, I will take this chapter, which is monitoring risks. Risk monitoring is a continuous method of risk management, identifying risk, deciding on therapies, and designing controls are all common steps in risk management. The process of tracking risk management implementation and continuing to identify and handle new risks is known as risk monitoring. So to add my view point, the purpose of risk monitoring is to address how risk will be monitored. This includes verifying compliance with the risk response decisions by ensuring that the organization implements the risk response measures, determines the ongoing effectiveness of risk response measures, and identifies any change that will impact the risk posture. Risk monitoring activities at various levels of the organization should be coordinated and communicated. In terms of our project, Minister of Labor and Social Affairs of Somalia and the WFP will be responsible for the day-to-day management and monitoring of the project. This table, they settled it for monitoring and evaluation plan. The first column is indicator name, second is description, third frequency, data source, methodology for data collection, responsibility for data collection. The first indicator name is beneficiaries of social safety net programs. The frequency will be quarterly. Data source will come from the WFP scope, and the methodology is MIS Management Information System. MOLSA and WFP will take the responsibility of this data collection. The second is beneficiaries of social safety net programs, especially for female. The frequency will be quarterly. The WFP scope will be the data source. Also, MIS will be the methodology that used for this. Okay, the responsibility for data collection is also undergoes MOLSA and WFP. There is National Cash Transfer Program targeting methodology developed and endorsed by the federal government of Somalia. This targeting methodology is to be approved and endorsed by the MOLSA for the government programs. This is different from the targeting methodology used by the WFP for component 1. Component 1 basically in our project is to transfer unconditional cash from house to poor households. The frequency will be once, and the data source official will come from official letter from MOLSA confirming endorsement. Project implementation unit of MOLSA informs the World Bank, and responsibility will go under MOLSA. Next chapter is project success criteria. Project success criteria are measurable words that define what the project's end result should be in terms that are appropriate to the end user, client, and stakeholders. In other words, project success factors are actions or components that must be present in order for the project to be completed successfully. There are three key factors that can define project success, which include the triple constraints, which are the cost, scope, and time. Realized benefits. So this realized benefits is actually when the project ends, that the benefit we realized is good. So the third one is stakeholder satisfaction, or you can say hidden customer satisfaction. Okay, successful criteria of our project is World Bank. Here you can say World Bank is a key factor since they are funding this project through IDS. IDS is basically International Development Association and it is a part of World Bank. The World Bank Social Protection Diagnostic work in Somalia provides relevant lessons for policy formulation and programming. This emphasizes that regularity and predictability of cash assistance are critical for protecting beneficiary households from resorting to harmful or negative coping strategies and enabling them to meet basic needs and invest in human capital and livelihood enhancement opportunities. Therefore, humanitarian cash assistance can support government-led safety net system but not replace it. Second, trust and transparency in the delivery system by the people are critical for the success and scalability. For the conclusion, overall the project name is Shock Responsive Safety Net System for Human Capital. The project has a total of 65 million USD financed from the IDS clearance grant and will support 3 components to be implemented over 2 years period. The components are nutrition linked and conditional cash transfers. The delivery systems and institutional capacity building. The third one is project management, monitoring and evaluation knowledge management. In terms of risk identification, the project used these methods which include risk documentation review, checklist, and risk register. The identified risks of the project was 4. The first one was governmental and policy. The second one is technical design. The third one is fiduciary, and the fourth one was economic and social risks. The project success criteria is World Bank. That's the end. Thanks for listening. We are as a group for